morning and welcome to the August 7th morning session of the Johnston County Commissioners. I'd like to thank each of you for being here today, and thank you for watching on our YouTube channel. As usual for us, we open with a prayer and a pledge. I've asked Commissioner Godwin to lead us in the prayer, and we have Vietnam Veterans of America 990 to lead us in the pledge. So if you would please stand.
After the prayer, when they bring the pledge, let's remember today is Purple Heart Remembrance Day. So let's remember that. Let's pray. Our Father God, we're thankful for the blessings of life, for the blessings of being here today. As we enter into the business session for our county, we ask that you imbue us with your courage, your patience, conviction, and strength, that we might make sound decisions on behalf of the county and all the citizens. We ask forgiveness for our shortcomings. Bless each one here and bless all our county. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Colonel Blake, if you give a second for Commissioner Braswell to make his way down there. He wanted to join you.
I want him to. He's a member of our chapel.
That's right.
I will get the back line.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
And if you will, face the flag. Group, heads, hut, present, arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What a home. Have a good day, ladies.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate you.
And while Commissioner Braswell was returning to his seat, I did want to remind everyone of our 6 priorities that the board established in our meeting this past March. They were infrastructure and financial stewardship, which you will hear a lot of in today's agenda. They're also land use, public safety, and county employees is the final priority that we had there. Also want to recognize Ms. Lynn Andrews, who is here to visit us today, and she is chairman of our Johnston County Public School System, so I think she will speak during public comments. But if not, I will move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I hear any need to adjust the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with one exception, that the visit from the 2023 Miss North Carolina team will be moved to the evening meeting. And I'm making a motion we approve the agenda as stated.
I second with that amendment.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the amended agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Agenda is approved. Next up, we have a few items on the consent agenda. I think we have 6. They are approval of the minutes from our June 19th and July 17th morning and afternoon and evening sessions. We have 3 additions to the DOT system. We have an amendment to the Agricultural Center Auditorium Use Policy and Facility Use Agreement. We have some budget revisions for emergency services, health department, the jail, sheriff's office, and social services. And finally, we have appointments to the Johnson Lee Harnett Community Action Board and the Livestock Arena Management Board. And excuse me, not finally, but we also have our tax releases and refunds from June 16th, 2023 to July 15th, 2023. So those are the 6 items on the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, a clarification. A couple of the appointments require a waiver length of service, so this motion would include granting that waiver.
Yes, sir.
All right, I move that we approve it as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items with the statement so noted on the waivers. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Consent agenda is approved. Next up, we come to public comments, and I was going to ask Ms. Andrews to come forward. I think she wanted to speak to us on behalf of the school board.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Chairman Lauder, Vice Chair Harris, and the rest of the council. It's an honor to be here. I don't know if this has been done before, but something that I thought was necessary. That is to come to you on behalf of over 37,000 students, 5,000 employees, and say thank you. thank you for the funding that you have provided for us. And if you would give me just a minute, I was just going to try to review what we have done with some of the funding that you have given. First of all, from the 2022 bond, the groundbreaking for those 2 new schools where all 3 projects will take place this spring. So we're moving quickly on that, which is what we need to do. But just on some of the funding that you have provided for us, as you well know, you provided over $8 million to us for weapon detection systems, which I think we all understood how important they are for our school system. Also, through the 911 money, funding I believe that you provided, we're actually adding transmitters within our schools to help with the communication with fire departments, SROs, law enforcement within our schools, which was something that about 28 of our schools were lacking tremendously. We have, with the funding that you have given, we have given bonus bonus to low-performing schools who meet or exceed their growth. We set aside over $1.7 million for that. This year, we implemented the JOCO Teach Scholarship. We gave $60,000 to 3 students so that they could continue their education, and in that, they come back and teach for us for 3 years. That program, like I said, we did 3 students. This year, there's 50 students in that program, so we're excited about growing our own teachers here in Johnston County, but that was a tremendous opportunity for these young people. We also offered, with your funding, a retention bonus to our staff. This started 2 years ago. You agreed to come back and work for us. That was a $2,500 bonus to every staff member. We did stipends to teachers who completed the LETTERS training. LETTERS is a program that was required by the state. The state gave a very little stipend to teachers. We added to that so that we could pay these teachers for coming and continuing their education in the teaching of reading, which was required by the state, but we felt like our teachers needed to be compensated. It's a lot of extra time out of the classroom. One of the biggest things that you have allowed us to do is to pay our classified staff more. When I say classified staff, I'm talking about office personnel, I'm talking about bus drivers, I'm talking about teachers' assistants, and you have allowed us through the last 2 years to compress the salaries from a 54-step process, which I'm not sure how that ever happened. Now down, with the funding that you gave us this year, we're down to a 30-step classified staff pay scale, which gave these individuals a tremendous raise. We have increased our bus driver pay. You may have seen in the news where some districts are suffering from a lack of bus drivers. That's not the case in Johnston County. And this is because of you. This is because of your funding to us. What Marlon Watson, our bus coordinator, and Dr. David Pierce, one of our associate superintendents, along with Dr. Bracey and Stephen Britt, worked up a masterful plan on how to recruit bus drivers in Johnston County. We actually give our classified staff a choice. They get there's like a package they can pick from for how they want to work. And with that, we have a waiting list for bus drivers in some areas. Never happened here in Johnston County, but it's because of you, because you gave us the funding to do this. So that's one reason I'm here. We also set aside $1.7 million of your money that you entrusted to us for school supplies for our teachers, and that goes through each individual schools. We do a referral bonus. If I work for Johnston County Schools and I refer a friend to go be hired by Johnston County Schools, I get a $1,000 bonus. So that's been well received. A signing bonus for new hires we have implemented this year, along with another bonus for our teachers. So we've set aside $7.4 million to give those positions like math and science in high school. If you come and work for Johnston County Schools in math and science, we're going to give you a signing bonus. Exceptional children is another area where we have deficits in teaching. We've added, you have helped us to give a 1% increase in our supplements for our teachers, and we are going to add to that this year with your funding. The state has given a small increase, a supplement for teachers, but we would like, what our goal is to try to make sure that every teacher carries home several $100s more every month. Every employee. So we're looking forward to that. We also are adding an attendance bonus for bus drivers. Perfect attendance, you get a bonus. All of this being done because of you. We are waiting on a budget, as you are, and we feel certain that we'll work all this out with the state. But again, I just wanted to come and say thank you. I know you get a lot of requests here. I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here to say thank you. I enjoy my relationship, our relationship with all of you. I feel like we have a really good relationship. And again, I am here as a representative of the Board of Education. This is not just Lynn Andrews. This is the Johnston County Board of Education reaching out to you to say thank you, and we look forward to continuing a great relationship. So,
Fantastic.
that's it.
Thank you very much.
I have a quick
Thank-
question, Lynn.
Yes.
That's the teacher scholarship plan you mentioned, the state had one 20 years ago. Is this similar to that?
I'm not exactly familiar with the one the state had 20 years ago, but what this is our young people, this program's out of SSS. I graduate from high school with an associate degree in teacher ed, and I'm going to further my education at a university, and what we're doing is paying for those 2 or 3 years that it takes. We hope they'll go in and get their master's, but we pay $10,000 a year for them to further their education with the understanding that they come back and work in Johnston
teach. Good.
County.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I have one comment.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Andrews, I just want to thank you for your leadership on the Board of Education and your willingness to work cooperatively with the Board of Commissioners, and the transparency and the willingness to just come to the table and discuss and work through issues. It has really, really been great, and I appreciate your leadership in doing that. Thank you.
Well, thank
so
you. It's
much.
an honor to serve, as you all well know.
And I just wanted to add something too. Again, just a kudos, thank you. And you kept saying like our money. I just wanted to say this is the taxpayers' money, and I'm very proud of what the Board of Education is doing with it. I think you're doing a
Well-
great job taking care of our teachers and staff and our.
Absolutely.
And we want people to understand where the funding's going. We realize that we have a fund balance, and we have a spend-down plan for that. But, you know, just the relationship, we thank you so very much.
You are doing a great job.
Because we want to make sure the taxpayers trust us and want us, and, you know, they understand where our money's going. So
Great.
I appreciate the time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. And now we'll come to the more traditional public comment section, and if there's any member of the audience who wishes to come forward and speak to the board on an item that is not on the agenda, please come forward now. You have 3 minutes to speak. You would state your name and your town or township that you're from. And just a reminder to the audience and to this board that this is an opportunity for the board to listen to public comments and not an opportunity to exchange thoughts and ideas, but it is exactly that, a listening session. So if there's anyone here to come forward, please come forward now. All right, give it a second. Seeing no one coming forward, I will say that we did not have any emails for this meeting to read into the agenda, so we will move on to the next portion, which is the item number 5, which is a resolution providing for the issuance of $30 million of general obligation school bonds, Series 2023. And Martha Lassiter will come forward to present that to us. Good morning.
As the chairman said, the resolution before you requests your approval for staff to proceed with the local government commission to sell the first 30 million general obligation school bonds from the 177 million that was approved by the voters in November. These bonds are the first, of course, from that referendum, and they're scheduled to be sold competitively on August 29th by the local government commission. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Lassiter?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Is the rate environment stable enough to give a prognostication of what you think the ballpark might be for the rate?
I think it will be, you know, hopefully somewhere between 3.50 and 4%.
Okay.
Durham County sold some GO bonds last week. They're AAA, so
Right.
they're a little, but theirs were 3.59.
Okay. Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution.
And capital.
And count, yeah,
Yes.
all right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes. Thank you. And, for the next 5 items, we have the pleasure of having Ms. Chandra Farmer, our Utilities Director, up, and I'll just let you start and we'll follow along.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
The first item that I have on the agenda is our construction management maintenance software project at our Central Johnston County Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility. We have received the formal grant offer from the Division of Environmental Quality. It is a American Rescue Plan grant in the amount of $200,000. You may recall the board has already adopted a capital project budget for this, so we're requesting to go ahead and formally accept that grant by approval of the resolution, and it also designates Rick Hester as the signature authority for the grant.
All right, any questions on this item? Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right,
Okay,
next
and
item.
the next item is very similar, and it is for the same software implementation at the Timothy G. Broome Water Treatment Plant. Same, we have already adopted a capital project budget for this based on receiving this grant, so we're asking for the same, the formal approval of the loan offer by approval of the resolution and granting the signature authority to Rick Hester.
All right, any questions on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move adopt the resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anything else? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item.
Okay, the next item is the Timothy G. Broome Water Treatment Plant. This is the design build project that we have underway to expand our existing plant from 14 to 18 million gallons a day. We have worked hard to negotiate with the project team, with our contractor and consultants for a guaranteed maximum price. We have reached a negotiation of a final guaranteed maximum price of $73,475,059. You may recall the board has already adopted a capital project ordinance and capital project budget for this project. It was based on the preliminary initial phases of the project only. So at this time, we are requesting the board approve the guaranteed maximum price and the revised project budget, which now includes the entire project. And the funding, the majority of the funding for the project is from the revenue bonds that we sold, the enterprise fund sold just a few weeks ago.
All right, any questions on this one?
I'll make a motion we approve the request.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I did just want to ask them just for clarification. So when we're looking at this and the public's looking at this and they see it going from 25 million-ish to 80 million, the reason is we now have a full project in there, not
That's correct.
part
The
of that.
initial budget was never intended to cover the entire project.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clarification. All right, we have any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to proceed with the contract with TA 11 and approval of the revised capital project budget and capital project ordinance. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right.
The next item is a revised utility capital reimbursement agreement with Eastfield Associates. You may recall back in February of '21, the board issued approval for the county to enter a reimbursement agreement with Eastfield Associates LLC and also approved a capital project budget in just over $2.3 million. This reimbursement agreement allowed the county to partner with Eastfield and reimburse them for some wastewater facilities being constructed. The facilities will serve the Eastfield development, but also serve the needs of a county capital project that we had on our capital improvements plan. So we partnered with Eastfield in order to accomplish this project. The original agreement was based on cost estimates from late 2020, early 21. The project has now been bid, and we would like to revise that agreement and appropriate the funds based on the actual bid cost for the project, which was included in the agreement. The agreement stated it would be based on the actual bid prices once the project was bid. But in June, so the new cost for the reimbursement agreement is just under $4.3 million. That would be the county's responsible cost for this project. But in June of '23, the board approved a budget revision associated with this project when we decided to move this project into the county's 210 wastewater treatment facility diversion project. You may recall we established a new project then, and at that time, we included the increased cost and adopted a capital project based on the revenue bonds that were pending sale at that time. So the budget has already been adopted to incorporate this increased reimbursement amount, and we are requesting approval to proceed with an amendment to the reimbursement agreement. And I'll be happy to answer any questions on that one.
All right, any questions?
No, but it's hard to believe that since February of '21, that was 2.5 years ago. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the amended reimbursement agreement.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, you're almost done. One more. Now we have the proposed wastewater allocation policy update.
Yes, I did want to provide an update on this policy. You may recall that we had a stakeholders meeting in May to discuss this proposed policy. We had 26 people in attendance, several towns were represented, and we also had some private development companies and other companies represented in addition to some engineering firms. We received some public comment at the meeting. We also received some emails after the meeting from some towns and from development companies. The majority of the public input centered around these items that I have identified here, with the first item being the proposed 200,000 gallons a day reservation of capacity for economic development. There are quite a few questions on this item. Specifically, is this intended to be for county retail customers or town jurisdictions? How would that be handled? How do we define economic development projects, and how is this capacity allocated? Who pays for it? How is it paid for? Other questions were about priorities and allocations, how that applies to towns. We had questions about the limitation of 50 lots per year per development for residential development. We had questions about sewer allocation permit being submitted at the time of a preliminary plat, which I think developers and engineers identified that that's going to require more initial input and more design on the front end than what the current process. And we also had some concern related to the construction completion and the required timeline, as this policy does give some timelines on when construction must begin and when permits would expire. I will not go through each one of these items, but I do have an outline here that shows us addressing those comments. We did better define economic development projects. We clarified the 200,000 gallons a day with the intent of that capacity being available for county retail customers or for projects that may be in a bulk customer service area. So that capacity would be available to any projects. We also clarified that capacity would have to be purchased, whether it's through system development fees as a county retail customer or if it would be bulk capacity fees if it was a customer of the town. We made a few more clarifications about previously approved projects, how those are permitted. We moved Johnston County Public Schools to a priority 1 category. We also clarified, so towns were clear on the priority 3 and 4 projects really were related to county retail customer usages. The bulk customers would not be subject to these kinds of rankings, as we have interlocal agreements with our bulk customers that define how we allocate capacity to those customers. And then one of the last provisions was allowing, instead of 50 lots per year for residential development, we proposed 50 lots per phase or 25% of the overall development, whichever is greater. So a developer would be able to request an allocation permit on a phase-by-phase basis, and this would be the maximum amount of capacity on that phase-by-phase basis. So it'd be 50 lots at a time. Then when that phase is completed, they could go to the next, they could get their allocation permit for the next phase or the 25% of the overall development, whichever of those is greater.
Chandra, real fast, for clarification purposes, what is our current time frame for those permits to expire? What is our current expiration period for the allocations?
The state permits do not have an expiration date on those. It would be whatever aligns with the county planning and zoning and land use type approvals.
Because I know that's something we had talked about, is trying to,
Our
come up with an...
sewer service policy does not have a timeline where those expire, so we would default back to our sewer permits or then back to the project approval through land use.
So I guess that's my question. When do those permits expire? What's that time frame?
The state's permits do not have an expiration date on those.
Got it. Thank you.
Some other verifications that we confirmed with people who had asked questions was that question about more time and more preliminary design is going to be required at the initial phase before a preliminary plat is approved. And yes, we confirmed that will be the case. Certainly a developer's going to have to, and the designers are going to have to think through how much capacity is needed. A phasing plan will be required, a project schedule, laying out a preliminary sewer system, engineering report. And our policy also includes other supporting documentation demonstrating how the project served the needs and interests of the county. So that is a new requirement that's in this policy that's not under the current provisions. Also, we clarified that there was some concern about the expirations and these timelines of having the permits expire. And there is, of course, we are working in volatile markets right now when you talk about construction and getting materials and supplies, and everyone seems to have surprises on when materials are going to be delivered now. So there is a provision that does allow for extensions based on extenuating circumstances and being able to justify what's causing that delay. And that was really the feedback we received and the revisions that have been made. I provided a copy of the current draft of the revised policy for you for your review. And I would recommend that we call for another public hearing so the public has an opportunity to look at this again in the current draft form. And we would recommend September 5th as that time for that public hearing.
All right, any additional questions, comments? I would just say thank you and your staff and our council for working through this, and thank you for the input from the development community, our municipalities, and individuals who have commented on this. And I don't have a problem if we go ahead and proceed with the September 5th, and we can do it at our morning session. We'll have the public hearing for that, assuming the rest of the board is okay with that date.
Yes.
It's going to be a real key integral part of our coming up with ordinances within the land use plan, understanding this.
Right. I agree. So and I guess that's all we need is direct that have a public hearing on the 5th in the morning session. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
You don't need a motion to that, do you?
No,
No,
sir.
I don't think so. No, we're good. Now we come to the appointments. We did have some appointments to 2 boards in our consent agenda. However, we have 2 boards that have more applicants than we have positions open, and as is our custom, you should have ballots at your seat that you will complete and turn in to our clerk, and we will announce that tonight at our 6 o'clock meeting. But the boards are the Board of Health. They have 1 position open for a dentist, and 1 position to fill an unexpired term that ends February 28th of 2025, and that position has 2 applicants for consideration. And finally, we have the Hospital Authority has 3 positions open with 5 applicants for consideration. And just so everyone understands that based on an MOU between the county and the Hospital Authority, this nomination will be sent to the Hospital Authority for review and their recommendation. And then as chairman, I will make the final appointment in September.
The Hospital Authority Board is scheduled to meet the 15th of August.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, you have your ballots, if you would, when you complete them at the end of this meeting, give them to the clerk. And we will announce those at the beginning of our 6 o'clock meeting. Next up, we have a delinquent tax collection report, and we have Ms. Jocelyn Andrews here to give that to us.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have 2 items back to back before you this morning, the first of them being the June collection report and the other one being the settlement. As mentioned last month, it was kind of a record-setting year for us. As you can see, the monthly report is the last one for the fiscal year 22-23. And then the settlement is just a recap of the entire year. As I mentioned last month, with a levy of $169,229,189.28, all but $119,071.62 was collected, with resulting in a collection rate of 99.93%. I want to just take this opportunity to thank the property owners for taking care of their obligation, and then congratulate my staff on a job well done. I ask that you accept the settlement and also charge me with the responsibility of collecting the 2023 property taxes, and I'll be happy to take any questions on either.
All right, any questions or comments?
That is unbelievable. It's really good. It's really a tribute to your staff and our taxpayers.
Absolutely.
Both, yes.
I wish I could say that was a lot like my grades in high school and college, but not quite so much. So. All right, we do need a motion to accept the tax settlement
So
of
moved.
2022. All right.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the tax settlement 2022 and adopt the order to collect taxes for 2023. Any discussion?
One point, I was on the board when we evolved to paying the taxes on the cars, you know, and getting your tags renewed. And there was a little bit of skepticism on would we get our money properly from DMV and that sort of thing. But that's worked great. And when I look at the number, it seemed like it was $19 million that came through that thing. So it's worked out well.
It makes it, I think it makes it easier for the public. It's just a one-stop.
Yeah.
And then that way, you can't renew your tags unless
Right.
you pay your property taxes.
That's
And
right.
then it makes it easier on staff, too, to
Yeah.
focus on what we need to focus on.
That's right.
All right. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we come to manager reports. Mr. Hester, any comments, reports? All right, I'll turn it over to the board for any comments, reports. Commissioner Brazel?
I think we're moving along pretty good with our meetings with the towns and to discuss this regional water and source authority. We don't know where to be an authority or some other type of organization, but I think that's progressing really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing the time we have to initiate it.
All right, Commissioner Godwin?
And hanging around the places I tend to hang around, whether it be a restaurant or a country store, I always get asked the question, what's happening at the county? And I don't even know where to start. We've got so many things going on, but it's a good team to work together, and so we'll get through there. That's all.
Vice Chairman Harris?
No, sir, thank you.
You've got that to me.
Yes. Commissioner Stevens? All right, that was quick. There's, I hope you had time to think. He was back to you.
Yeah. I thought y'all would do a song and dance over there.
I'll be more prepared for 6 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, for the past 18 years, it's been my pleasure and honor to serve as a Johnston County Commissioner representing the county, but residing in District 6. I had the opportunity to serve with a lot of great men and women over this period of time. I've had the opportunity to be involved with some history-making decisions that have been made here. And so it soon will be time for folks to decide if they want to run. I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. If you want to run as a county commissioner, it's not an easy job. I've enjoyed my term, but I've missed out on living some by doing that. And so if you're going to be a commissioner, you're going to miss out living some because it's a job. But therefore, Mr. Chairman, I will not seek re-election for the upcoming term. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve. I will serve the remainder of my term with the same enthusiasm as I did my first year. So that's it.
I appreciate that, and thank you. I know our 5 years I have enjoyed working with you, have learned a lot from you, and you still have a few months left, so I'm going to hold you to that level of enthusiasm that you're going to have between now and then, so I'll remind you of that.
I don't want you
as needed.
I don't want you at the house every Sunday before the meeting.
Okay, that won't happen. All right. Any other comments? All right, I believe we have a need to go into closed session.
Yeah, I move the board go into closed session for these purposes to consult with an attorney employed by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3, to discuss matters related to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A4, and to establish or instruct staff concerning negotiations of the pricing terms of a contract concerning the acquisition of real property pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A5.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of going into closed session for the reasons stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will go into closed session after a few minutes to clear the boardroom. Thank you.